and it's a version I heard tell by a woman who, like me, her name was Joan, but she took a different name. She's now known as Tsultrim Allione. Has anyone here heard of Tsultrim Allione? Yeah, if you haven't heard of her, you may have heard of Pema Chodron. So it was the site of Tsultrim Allione that inspired Pema Chodron to become a nun. So Tsultrim Allione is this totally rocking, awesome American woman. She's so darn cool. She's so darn cool. And she's been doing amazing work since the 80s of shining light on the feminine wisdom within Buddhism. And this is her story, or her version of a story you might well know. So, it's nighttime, and the moon is bright tonight. It's just risen. And it's been about 6 years since a man left his home, his family, and stepped out into the world on a quest. He's been questing ever since. He hasn't yet found the answer he's been seeking for. And tonight is the beginning of the end of his quest. And he's come to a river, and on the other side of the river there's a tree. And he has decided, he has determined, he's gonna sit beneath that tree until he susses this thing out, or else. Now, I don't know about you, in the versions I've read, I don't think it says what the or else is. I figure he was prepared to die there. So that's it. This is gonna be it. He's gonna sit there or else. But the thing is, he's really weak. For years he has been following this path of austerity. There were long periods of times he ate 1 grain of rice a day, and he is bone thin. You can see all his bones through him, and although he is on fire spiritually and mentally and emotionally, physically, he's very weak. But luckily he's not alone. From behind a tree steps a woman, blue-black as the night sky. She's dressed very simply in the clothes of the wife of a cowherd, which is what she is. And she walks to him, and she's carrying a bowl. And in this bowl is this exquisite dish that she has poured her heart into making. She took the finest milk from the finest cows, and she sat there for hours, it may have been days, stirring and stirring, as this rice porridge reduced and reduced into like a liquid gold, exquisite substance. It was like colostrum, you know that, excuse me, that first, most nourishing part of a mother's milk. And she went up to this man and she offered him the bowl, and he took it and he ate it. And I always think of the Ready Breck man. Do you remember the Ready Breck ad? This little cartoon figure, and he has his porridge, and this red glow spreads all through him. I think of him as the Ready Breck man, as he had this bowl of exquisite rice porridge, and he had the strength. And then she knelt down at his feet and she washed his feet. So the way Tsultrim Allione tells it is, she says it was this willingness to accept the feminine, to receive, to be nurtured. This is what had been missing from all his other practices. This is why he'd never found the answer to his question before. But that night, when he received and he was fed and nurtured and nourished and given the strength of the feminine, then he could become whole. We each of us have to integrate, don't we, the masculine and the feminine within us. So with that warm glow still spreading through his body, he crossed the river and he sat beneath the tree. And I won't go into the details of what happened next, you might know it, but all this stuff happened and he didn't move. The dark forces gathered, they were determined to stop him in his quest, but they didn't move him. And then, just before daybreak, days and days and nights later, Mara, who you could kind of say is something like the devil, something like the ego, he had a brilliant idea. He thought, I know what's going to stop this guy from reaching his final freedom. And he went up to him And he said, hey, by what right do you sit here claiming the throne of enlightenment? And the man simply said, by the right of eons of lifetimes aspiring to help all beings. Mara was delighted. This was just what he thought he might say. And he said, ha. You tell me you've been at this for countless eons of lifetimes, right? Prove it. Bring me one witness who will prove and is willing to stand up and attest the truth of what you say. I mean, honestly, who can we count on? Who's been there for everything we've ever done in this lifetime, right? Let alone eons of previous lifetimes. Mara was absolutely chuffed. But the man simply took his right hand and he touched the earth. And there was an almighty roar, and everything moved as the earth shook. And they say in the earliest Buddhist iconography, they actually drew pictures of a goddess rising out of the earth, touching him back. She was there at his moment of need, in that one act when the earth bore witness to who was about to be the Buddha's history. That is kind of what brought us all here tonight, together, more than 2,000 years later. Isn't that amazing? So I thought I'd invite us all, if we want to reach down and touch the earth beneath us. And in whatever way feels right to you, I'm sure you kind of might do this kind of thing anyway. Just give her thanks, or give it thanks, or whatever works for you. For her presence, her loving witness, her incredible generosity. I'm just going to sing a little song of thanks to her. Or it, or he, the earth. Mother in the earth. Mother in the earth, who feels us and heals us and believes in us. Mother in the earth. Mother in the earth. Mother, oh our mother in the earth, who witnesses us, knows us, who believes in us. Our mother in the earth. You know, all those years I lived in that incredibly remote place, I think I was lonely once, right? And we're never alone, right? She's always here with us. And I'm very grateful. We wouldn't be here. Look, I get to hang out with all of you guys. How cool is that? So, yes, there's a lot being discovered about the feminine, obviously, in many aspects, and it's such a cool time for that. And I will say this though, although up in the Northwest Highlands, like I described, there is this place of power, and there's literally these 3 goddess hills. I used to sit there and watch these 3 goddess hills. One had all these, like, she was like a young woman looking up to the sky, and you could see her eyelashes and her pretty little nose and little pert lips. I called her the maiden. And then there was lumpy one like the crow, and she had all these like folds and saggy breasts, and she was awesome. And then there was Mama Naast, this beautiful set of hills, and she even had a nipple. There was this trig point placed right on the top of the hill that was her breast, and she just, sat there above the loch. And I went down to the loch one day, and I sat there looking at the 3 goddesses. And I looked specifically at Mama Naast. She was so beautiful. There's something very beautiful about a nipple, don't you think? So she's lying there, and I'm like, hey, Mama Naast, is there anything you want us to know? Have you got a piece of guidance that I can share with people? And this is what she said. I was here before, and I'll be here beyond. When your kind has gone, you know that air you breathe, how it comes from leaves, the fires, how they rise. Where will you all go when there's no more snow? The hilltops high and dry. What will you all eat when there's no more weeds? Do you think of them? Go tell the crawling babe of all that you forget, and how you strive and strive. That's a message from Mama Naast for all of us.